Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Live, Love and Learn the 99 Names of Allah SWT. I've got some really thought-provoking questions for you, and I used to ask these to myself, like, what does it mean to believe in Allah? Does Allah even want me to know about Him? Think about your own journey to Allah. What is that going to look like? And I've got to tell you, if you're listening to this, then you're definitely on that journey, and we are traveling together. So keep listening until the end. The first pillar of Islam is belief. Belief in Allah. And that is essentially two parts. Number one, knowing Allah, and number two, worshipping Allah. When it comes to knowing Allah, our first step is to try and understand who Allah really is. We can't physically see Him or hear His voice. Our faith lies in acknowledging the fact that He actually exists and recognizing His magnificent, amazing qualities. Imagine a vast ocean. When you look at pictures of the earth, you can see it just looks blue. Well, when you see pictures from below the ocean, you see all the amazing shades of color, all the colors of the creatures. And knowing Allah is a little bit like delving into the ocean. Once you start getting in there, you start seeing colors, but you know that that's not the end, that there's so much more to go, and it's infinite. And some of the questions that I ask myself is, how can we worship Allah if we don't know who He is? And what does worship actually mean? Can we genuinely love Allah without understanding His essence? And how can we fear Him if we don't actually understand His power? Trust, certainty and hope, they're all rooted in knowing Allah. And worshipping Allah, once we get to know who He really is, then we can worship Him in the way that He deserves. And we'll be exploring the meaning of worship, what does worship mean, and how each name and attribute of Allah opens up new experiences in our own lives and a new love for Him, an absolute certainty in His existence. The first pillar of Islam is belief in Allah. Believing in Allah is essentially two parts. Number one, knowing Allah, and number two, worshipping Allah. When it comes to knowing Allah, our first step is to try and understand who Allah really is. We can't physically see Him or hear His voice. We don't know what He looks like. Our faith lies in acknowledging the fact that He actually exists and recognizing His magnificent, amazing qualities. Imagine a vast ocean. From the surface, it looks really big and blue. But as when you see pictures of the ocean, or if you've ever been diving, as you go under the surface, you see different shades of blue, you see different colors of all the creatures, and you know that there's so much more to go. The more we discover the depth of His attributes, we could just keep going on and on. Some of the names of Allah that we'll be looking at are As-Salam, the source of peace; Ar-Rahman, the most merciful; Al-Mu'min, the giver of security; Al-Aziz, the almighty; Al-Jabbar, the irresistible. So as we get to know Allah, this is our basis for which we worship Allah. Worship Him in the manner that He deserves, that He wants us to worship Him. We will explore the meaning of worship as well. What does worship even mean? And each name and attribute of Allah opens us up to new experiences within our own lives, a renewed love for Him, and absolute certainty in His existence. How could we possibly worship Allah if we don't know who He is? How can we genuinely love Allah without understanding His essence? How can we fear Him if we don't understand His power? Trust, certainty and hope, all rooted in knowing Allah. Does Allah even want us to know Him? As I mentioned before, we can't see Him, we can't hear Him, we don't see Him. But actually in the Quran, Allah commands us i'lamu, which means learn and know. And this phrase occurs many times in the Quran and is often followed by one or two of Allah's names. He wants us to use our intelligence. He wants us to learn about Him, think about Him, get to know Him. And when we recite the Quran, we notice that almost every verse carries 1, 2 or even 3 names and attributes of Allah. And sometimes these divine qualities that Allah describes Himself with serve as signposts pointing us in the direction that we need to go. Scholars emphasize the fact that there is no science that increases our faith as quickly, as rapidly as knowledge about Allah. While there are other things that we can do to increase our faith, like doing good deeds, reading the Quran, giving charity, supporting orphans, helping our neighbors, they all strengthen our faith. The fastest route is in actually learning Allah's names. And that is through, number one, the Quran, that is Allah's book, filled with His words. And each name reveals an aspect of His infinite mercy, wisdom, power. As we delve into these names, we gain a glimpse into Allah's qualities, and implementing these meanings in our lives transforms our relationship with Him. So number one is the Quran, and number two, the Seerah, the knowledge of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. The only true source of information about Allah is in the Quran and the Sunnah. These are the only reliable guides to understanding Allah and His attributes. What is your path to learning about Allah? There's no right or wrong answer to this. Some people are born into families that weren't Muslim, and yet they consciously chose Allah's path. I myself was born into a Muslim family, but I wasn't really taught anything about Allah. I didn't really understand the Quran, but I grew up praying, and then Allah brought me on my own path. Others are drawn to Allah through years of research as scientists, uncovering the scientific and linguistic miracles in the Quran. Sometimes I come across young children, they're just really innocent. They don't need to learn everything academically, but their certainty in Allah is so unwavering, and their hearts recognize Allah without any hesitation. And as for me, I'm not any scholar, but learning about Allah transformed my life. It shifted my perspective on existence, religion, relationships, and learning about Allah also revealed my own power and strength in ways that I could never have imagined. And I love sharing that with other people. And really the answer to the question, well, what's my path to Allah going to look like, is actually Allah is Al-Musawwir, one of the names we're going to come across. He created us as unique individuals. He's the fashioner. He made us the way that we are, with our experiences, with the journeys that we've been on, with our personalities and our individuality. When you embark on your journey towards Him, He becomes your personal guide. His help, His guidance is tailored to your needs, to exactly what you need. It's relevant to your struggles, it's relevant to your own personality, and it's absolutely intimate in the wisdom. He calls you to build a relationship with Him in a way that is designed specifically for you. Your journey is going to be filled with challenging moments, and these are the moments that build your strength. They shape your character, and they deepen your reliance on Allah. To know Allah is to know yourself. To know Allah is to know yourself. So in our session, we're going to explore Allah's names. We're going to learn to love them, live with them, and experience their powers. And remember the words of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, that actions are according to intentions, and everyone will get what they intended. So think about your reasons for being on this journey. Give some time to reflect. Why are you here? What are you looking for? Is your life feeling a bit empty and you're looking for a bit of purpose? Do you want to break free from habits but you just can't motivate yourself? Do your prayers feel a little bit robotic, that you really can't connect to anything higher than your daily to-do list? Are you looking for paradise? And as we continue, let's keep our intentions pure. You're a believer or someone just exploring. Know that Allah's mercy encompasses everything. So until our next session, reflect on your reasons. May Allah guide your heart and my heart. Ameen. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe.